Yo, 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 what's going on, Game Changer Network? Back with another episode of Dante Dog Stories. Gonna be a quick one tonight. Y'all just see the title, How to Keep Your Dog Warm. Very simple, very easy. But I feel like very important with the times of the winter storm coming in over the last couple of days. So we're gonna get right into it. Most definitely want to thank 300cruisers.com for sponsoring this episode of Dante Dog Stories. If you're looking for extravagant travel, check out 300cruisers.com. Um, for the dog of the day, the Doberman. Uh, very, very beautiful breed. Um, Big, majestic dogs. Very protective. Good family dogs as well. Very, very hardy and rugged and grit. Um, when you got one that's coming off a real good bloodline. Um, but for the most part, Dobermans across the board are just outstanding breed. Um, they like to work. They like to get out there. So if you plan on getting a Doberman, plan on doing some exercise. Um, they love to be around their owners. They're a very, very loyal breed in particular. Um, Very good dogs. They can be house dogs. If I had one, I probably prefer to have them outside though, just to make sure that they're stretching those long, muscular legs. So, but very, very beautiful, beautiful breed. If you're looking for just a quality dog breed, wanting to get with your family or something like that, definitely, definitely go with the Doberman because it's a great breed. Um, I probably would get one in the future myself because, like I said, they are real good dogs. But we're gonna get right into it. How to keep your dog warm. Like I said, it's gonna be a very quick episode tonight. Just want to give the folks some tips on what some people kind of was asking me about how I keep my dogs warm and what I do in times like I said, the last couple of days with the winter storm coming through. Um, so I'm in the South, Georgia. I've always lived in the South. So all the tips I'm gonna give, they may not be as extreme as people in the North may need it. Of course, it gets a lot colder up north. Um, Dogs down here typically don't go through real harsh winters, or the summers are probably worse than the winters because of how hot it is, and the fact that your dogs can go through heat stroke at any point of the day when it gets real hot down here in Georgia. But as far as the winter times, typically we don't go through just real bad winters. It doesn't get below freezing many times throughout the winter at all. The lows, typically 34s, 35, 36s. But it's nothing really too cold. But um, with this winter storm coming in, with Winter Storm Elliott, the temperature dropped, of course, tonight to, it said 16, but then it said it feels like 8. So you can imagine that probably feels very, very cold. I just got from out there, and it was definitely cold. I think the wind chill is kind of exaggerate the cold just a little bit more. It makes it feel a lot colder than what it may actually be. But I also had a lot of people contact me and just ask me, what are you doing to keep your dogs warm in times like this, or are you letting your dog stay outside? That was, one of the big questions because since I was a kid, on the news, anytime cold weather advisory comes up like this, they'll tell you to bring your dogs in because it's below freezing. You don't want your dogs to freeze to death, which is definitely true. Um, but I feel like more so if it's going to be snowing, when your dog is going to have more likely chance to freeze to death. Only because um, when there's no snow on the ground, that ground tends to heat up quicker than, of course, if ice was on the ground surrounding wherever your dog is, creating like a freezer like environment. So, like I said, here in the South, in Georgia in particular, South Georgia, we don't really get snow often. Uh, I mean, like we may get snow every 4 or 5 years, possibly, If it was raining today, we probably would have got snow because of how cold it was. But luckily, we didn't have any rain. So when I say it doesn't really get cold down here, like I'm saying, I'm only speaking for people in the South. I actually lived in Texas when the winter storm came through Texas and it snowed out in Texas, and I had to come up with some tricks of how to keep my dogs warm then. And one thing about it, being that we don't have snow, it creates uh, like it makes you very lucky because you have to deal with such a harsh winter at times. But again, when the temps do drop like how it is, the wind is blowing. The things you should do. Um, of course, the main thing is cleaning up. If your dogs are outside, of course, if your dog's inside, it's up under heat. You don't really have to worry about this. Um, but as far as the dog's been outside in a shed or in a doghouse or in a kennel or whatever, right? These are some things that you probably want to do just to enhance the warmth around your dog, just to make sure uh, nothing bad does go or does happen. Uh, one thing about it, let me backtrack. So I seen a post that was like, if your dog stand outside tonight, how about you walk outside and then you stay with them or something like that. As a human, that's it's kind of I know we think about our dogs as humans as well, and they feel like how we feel, but it's actually not true. So with a dog, if you're gonna say that to make it accurate, you can't just say if your dog stand outside tonight, how about you go outside with them? Because our bodies are not built like the dog's body. They got a built-in coat. So like if you're gonna say that, you gotta reword the whole status and say, how about you put on some winter gear that's gonna keep you warm with a ski mask because a dog has fur all the way up into their nose, and gloves because dogs have fur all the way up into their toes, and you completely cover yourself, and then you go outside with your dog, and then see how long you can withstand that winter. It's a complete difference. On top of that, a dog's internal body heat is higher than a human's body heat. So what we may endure is cold, a dog can actually withstand a little bit more because their internal body heat is actually higher than the humans. So the fact that they got a higher internal body heat and also they got a coat that's already built onto them with their fur, especially if you have a double coated dog like a Rottweiler, that's essentially having a dog with two coats. And then you have your Newfoundlands that have like a very bushy double coat, or like your Saint Bernards, which I talked about in the last episode, which actually have to live in very low temperatures. Their coats are built for this, so therefore they are built for a climate that's built to withstand the winters. Upon, like I said, their internal body heat actually being higher than humans. So with this combined, you can already imagine how the dog is suited to be in this habitat because this is their natural habitat. And that's one thing I want people to understand. The outside weather is the dog's habitat. That's where they come from. Us putting jurisdiction on saying, oh, it's too cold for a dog to be outside is kind of backwards because we don't really know what's too cold for them and what's not too cold because we're not a dog. We can only assume based off what we feel. But oftentimes we don't factor in the factors that I just gave as far as like their actual internal body heat being different from ours, the fact that they have a coat on, which we actually have to go put on, uh, as well as sweatpants or pants or whatever to adapt to the cold. They are already adapted to the cold because they come from that environment. That's where they live. That's what they do. Those in the wild, they will already be doing that. And then if you look at a dog, the only bare spot where it's not going to be a lot of fur is the underbelly. And that's really typically on the female because her breast is on her underside. And so, of course, you'll see with a dog, they typically get in a ball and they ball up and they conserve as much heat as possible within that little ball. Um, and right up under them, that ground becomes, it's like it's conducting heat. So anytime you may see a dog, even when it's raining outside, or typically most mammals that stay outside when they ball up, in that one spot, you'll see like it's just drier than the surrounding spots because that dog's created that ball, which actually um, holds heat right up under them because their underbelly is right there as well, which has the least fur, keeping that the warmest. Um, and it kind of creates a shield from the wind. So that's the main thing. You always want to create a wind shield for your dogs, whether it be a doghouse, whether it be a tarp, anything as far as piece of plywood, anything that can block wind. You want to be able to put your dog behind that so that the windshield doesn't affect your dog in a negative way. Um, of course, they'll tell you most dog houses are not equipped for the weather, but they are. You can also self-insulate your dog houses. So if you can go to the Hobby Lobby, you can actually get foaming and stuff like that and put up in a dog house to create a better insulation. But a dog house is typically to keep your dog out of the debris and the weather that's surrounding them, whether it be rain, snow, something like that. Um, but your dog actually creates the heat where they're laying at, and that's why they ball up. Because typically they would already be out in the wild without a dog house. They'd just be laying there and taking on whatever storm or whatever comes to them. Unless they, of course, were in their den of like they were like wolves. But in the case that they were just domestic dogs, they'll be going through the weather like anything else. So one thing as humans, we always gotta account for that fact that dogs really like are already built for this. Once we start thinking about it like that, we won't be so sensitive to the fact of leaving our dogs outside to go through a winter storm, which they're already built for. Um, of course, like with the bullies, right? They got a thin layer coat, so extremely cold weather can affect them differently than it would another breed which has a lot of more fur, like German Shepherd per se, right? But a dog's still a dog at the end of the day, right? It's still equipped to go through those type of measures of cold, of rain, or whatever. So one thing, like I said, to enhance the heat though, always get you a good bedding, whether it be hay, pine straw, pine shavings, cedar, whatever it is that you can get your hands on that creates a good bedding. I find best to get the cedar because for one, it keeps the smell down. For two, it keeps the bugs down. For three, it's a softer wood. The cedar is kind of mixed with the red oak and the pine, so like it's a softer wood for the dogs. The dust quality is not really high dust. It's a pretty low dust quality as well, um, and also the warmth that it creates too. I feel like it creates a warm bedding um, for the dog. So I typically go with the cedar. If I see cedar, I'm trying to rack up on that so I can put it out. And so for my dog that's outside during this winter storm, uh, they have plenty of cedar up under them to keep them warm and to burrow into uh, to stay warm. So that's the main thing. I like to create it so they can actually, once they create that circle, that cedar piles up on the side of them while also creating a good bedding under them as well. And I typically find that that's what the dogs want to do anyways. If you ever seen a dog that gets cold, they like to dig a hole and actually lay within the hole. Then the windshield actually goes across their back. But they typically stay warm within that hole that they dug and they kind of submerge their body into. Um, so you just got to pick up on the dog characteristics and see what they do when it actually gets cold. And yeah, actually understand that, like I said, they're built for that. The things that we once seen or deem as normal, they already are built for those type of things. So we can't humanize the dog by taking them out of their environment that they're built for. That's just backwards. Um, Also, heat lamps. Heat lamps are a great source of heat. One thing you want to do, you want to be careful how close it is going to be to your dog because it can irritate your dog's skin and possibly burn your dog's skin if too close. Your dog can't move out of the way because a dog loves the heat. So they'll enjoy laying under the heat lamp not knowing they're actually damaging their skin. So keep that in mind as well. Get a heat lamp, keep it high enough to where, excuse me, keep it high enough to where your dog won't try to tear it down, of course, and also high enough where it won't damage your dog's skin or anything like that when you cut it on. Of course, to have a heat lamp, you have to have a source of electricity leading to wherever your dogs are. Um, but heat lamps are definitely resourceful in times when it gets very cold. During the winter storm in Texas, I feel like heat lamps kind of saved. I had a litter on the ground, saved my litter and some younger pups that I had on the yard as well. Um, it was just that good because it's just a small source of heat, but it's directed directly onto whatever is aiming at. So that's the main thing. If you can get your hands on heat lamps, um, definitely get the heat lamps. So we got blocking wind, we got cedar or hay, a pine straw to create a bedding for your dog, and we got heat lamps. Um, so those are, I think, the three main things um, that'll keep you afloat as far as keeping the surrounding area, the shelter that your dog will be in warm. Um, so on the back end, I'm gonna give you an extra little tip of what you can do as far as keeping your dog warm as well. So when I fed my dogs, I actually put warm water inside their bowls with their food to create like a warm soup or gravy type, I guess, concoction. And you'll see that your dogs, of course, will probably eat it a little bit faster because it is cold. And that's kind of creating, like I said, like just imagine you drinking hot chocolate. It's the same thing. Now, I'm not saying get scorching hot water and pour it into your dog food. I actually made mine scorching hot and then let it cool down. I didn't want to put warm water and then it'd be lukewarm or anything like that. I just made hot water, let it cool down, and then poured it over the food. And I mean, of course, they loved it because it is cold out there. So then again, this keeps the blood also flowing warm. That's the main thing. Keeps the body warm. Just like if you ate soup, um, it'll warm up, it'll course through your body and warm up your whole body. Same as that thing. And then also, one other gem is try to play a activity with your dog, so your dog can actually use its energy and keep that blood flow going. That's the main thing. You want to keep that blood flow going in times like this. Of course, when they lay down in their sleep, they're gonna the blood flow's gonna slow down. But anytime that they're out, that you can just try to keep them active, um, because with that blood flow, you won't run into to them getting like any type of frostbite because dogs can get frostbite or like what people saying, you don't want your dog to freeze to death either. So that's the main thing. But that's pretty much it, y'all. I gave y'all three different tips and two different gems on the back end just to keep in mind, and how, of course, the dog actually works when it comes to their bodies and what makes them acceptable to actually be living outside in harsh weather like this. So y'all definitely keep tapping in. I appreciate all the love. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe on YouTube if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, go follow me on Facebook. Game Changer Kennels or Dante Limit is my personal page. And on Instagram as well, Game Changer Kennels or GCK Dante _. And then on TikTok, Game Changer Kennels as well. So I definitely appreciate all the viewership that's been gained within the last month now. We've been a month strong 15 episodes with this one here today. I appreciate all the support. Of course, we got more content coming very, very soon, with a lot of different insight on a lot of different things. So y'all definitely stay tuned. Keep sharing the content, keep liking the content, and I'll see y'all soon.